What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Gimmick Puppet deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an amazing deck that can easily FTK your opponent and just got some amazing support for this deck. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Fiendish Knight. Fiendish Knight is definitely a one-of in the build and an awesome new card that we just recently got for this deck. With the ability, if this card is in your hand, you can target a Gimmick Puppet monster in the graveyard or a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to its owner's field in defense position, but its effects are negated. Then special summon this card, which is a great ability to instantly get a monster out on your side of the field. This card also has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard except from the hand, you can actually add this card to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly grab this card back by just sending it from the deck to the grave. We then play 3 copies of Little Soldiers. Little Soldiers is definitely a 3-out in the build, one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually send a Gimmick Puppet monster with a different level than this card from your deck to the graveyard, and this card's level becomes that monster's level, easily making this card a level 8 on your side of the field. This card also has an insane effect that you can actually banish this card in the graveyard and then target up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters that you control and increase your level by 4 until the end of the turn, making it super easy to make rank 8 plays in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Rogue Doll. Rogue Doll is one of the most powerful extenders in the entire deck. As if this card's in your hand, you can reveal 1 Gimmick Puppet XZ monster in your extract to special summon both this card and a Gimmick Puppet monster with the same level as the revealed monster's rank from your deck, easily getting you 2 level 8s on your side of the field, which is actually insane. And if this card is sent to the graveyard except from the hand, you can actually add this card to your hand, which is a really powerful effect to instantly grab this card. We then play 2 copies of Terror Baby. Terror Baby is one of the creepiest cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And definitely comment down below what you think is the creepiest card in the entire game. When this card has the ability, when this card is normal summon, you can actually target a Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. And you can also banish this card from the graveyard, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Gimmick Puppet monster's effects this turn, making it super easy to FTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Cattle Scream. Cattle Scream is great as a one-of in the build to be able to use because this card is built, you can detach a material from an XZ monster you control and then special summon this card from your hand to your graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn, but a Gimmick Puppet XZ monster that has this card as a material gains the effect that once per turn you can actually target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position, which is a great effect to give your opponent a monster so we can actually destroy with our copy of number 40 so we can actually do some burn damage. We then play a single copy of Bisque Doll. Bisque Doll is really good as a one-up in the build to basically just use this card as an extender, as you can special summon this card in your hand by discarding a Gimmick Puppet monster, and also banish this card from your graveyard, and your opponent cannot target Gimmick Puppet monsters you control with card effects this turn. We then play a single copy of Dreary Doll. Dreary Doll is great as an extender in the deck as well, because if this card's in the graveyard, you can actually banish one other Gimmick Puppet monster from your graveyard and special summon this card from the grave, which is a great effect to instantly get this card on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Scissor Arms. Scissor Arms is insane in this deck because this card is actually a walking foolish barrel that when this card is normal summon, you can send a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to the grave. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good as a 3-up build to basically just stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 2 copies of Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell is awesome in this build to basically stop your opponent's graveyard effects. We then play 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is great at helping you pop cards on the field. We then play a single copy of Droll. Droll is really good in this build as a 1-0 to basically use as a cross-out designator target, but if you do draw into it, you can use this card in this particular deck to basically just stop your opponent from touching the deck for the rest of the turn. We then play a single copy of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is great as a cross-out designator target, and also a really cool card in this deck to be able to use to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects. We then play a single copy of Nibiru. Nibiru is awesome as well as a cross-set designator target, and also really good in this build to break your opponent's board, but it's really good as a cross-set designator target in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is an extremely important one-of in the deck to help us get to our copy of our Gimmick Puppet field spell. We play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is awesome as a one-of in the build to basically just use this card to stop our opponent's hand traps when we're going in for all of our plays. We then play 2 copies of Rank Up Magic Urgent Chaos Force. This card is awesome as a 2-0 in the build to basically help us rank up into our chaos versions of our monsters, which is actually insane to be able to do because this card is a key combo piece in the deck to FTK your opponent, so you want to be able to get to this card as quickly as possible, and I really like playing 2 copies in this build. We then play 3 copies of Condolence Puppet. Condolence Puppet is like a massive foolish burial for the deck with the ability that you can send a Gimmick Puppet monster with a different name from your deck to the graveyard up to the number of monsters that your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck +1. Also, you can banish this card in the graveyard and then target a Machine XZ monster that you control, and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while face up on the field, which is a really powerful effect for this card to be able to use. We then play 3 copies of one of the most broken cards in the entire deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. This card is actually broken. This card is the ability, when this card is activated, you get to add a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to your hand, or you can add any Gimmick Puppet monster you want from your deck to your hand. Also, Gimmick Puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters, except their XZ monsters. That is actually insane, that it basically makes it so this card is like a miscellaneous Sortis, or like a copy of Sangan Summoning, which is actually insane, and makes it super easy to FTK your opponent. This card also has the ability once per turn, you can detach a material from an XZ monster control and then target a Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position, which is a really powerful effect. Just hand your opponent a Gimmick Puppet. We then play 3 copies of Cross-Set Designator. Cross-Set Designator is really good in the deck to basically just stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with a single copy of Service Puppet Play. Service Puppet Play is a really powerful combo piece in the deck that lets you target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Gimmick Puppet XZ monsters you control and take control of those monsters until the end phase. And if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you control a Gimmick Puppet XZ monster, you can banish this card and then target an XZ monster in either player's grave and special summon it to either field in defense position, which is a crazy powerful ability. We then also play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good as a 3-of in the deck to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Gimmick Puppet Machine X. Machine X is definitely a 2-of in the build and such a powerful card in this deck, with the ability that you can detach a material from this card to add a Rank Up Magic spell from your deck to your hand. Also, you can normal summon 1 machine monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summoner set, which is such a powerful ability to be able to use. Also, if you special summon a Gimmick Puppet XZ monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your graveyard to either player's field in defense position, then add a Rank Up Magic spell from your graveyard to your hand, basically recycling your copy of Urgent Chaos Force over and over again. We then play 2 copies of its Chaos Form. This card is such a powerful 2-of in the build because if this card is special summoned, you can add a Puppet Trap card from your deck to your hand, instantly grabbing your copy of Service Puppet Play. You can also detach a material from this card to special summon a monster from either player's graveyard to your opponent's field in defense position, and if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can actually target one of them and destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack points, doing some insane burn damage. And my single copy of number 40. Number 40 is really good because it actually distributes string counters on all the monsters on the field. As once per turn, you can detach a material on this card and then place a string counter on each face-up monster on the field, which is such a powerful effect. So we can use our copy of its chaos version to actually destroy those monsters and do some burn damage to your opponent, which is actually insane to be able to do. But this card is definitely a 1 of the build. Currently, these cards are both at 1, which is a little bit unfortunate for the deck, but you can easily FTK your opponent still with this build. We then play 2 copies of Giant Grinder. Giant Grinder is great in this build because up to twice per turn during your main phase 1, you can detach an XZ material from this card and then target a special summon monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Then when it's XZ monster, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack points, which is crazy powerful to be able to do in this deck. We then play a single copy of Giant Hunter. Giant Hunter is really good as a 1-of in the build to do some burn damage to the opponent, because once per turn you can actually detach a material in this card, target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it, and if you do, and if it was a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack points, which is crazy powerful to be able to do. We then play a single copy of Gigantus Doll. Gigantus Doll is just a really good combo piece in the deck, as you can detach 2 materials from this card and then target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls and gain control of them until the end phase of the turn. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon except for Gimmick Puppet monsters. We have a lot of cards in the deck that already lock us into summoning Gimmick Puppet only, but also monsters, newer monsters can declare attacks except for XZ monsters, and also tribute this card and all monsters you currently control become level 8 until the end of this turn, which is such a powerful effect. We can play a single copy of Zeus, just in case we need to board wipe, just as a toolbox card, just in case we need to make it. And we play a single copy of Typhon, just in case we need to make a copy of Typhon and balance a card, because sometimes you just don't have the options to be able to go in for the FTK, so you can make a copy of Typhon until you draw into basically your field spell and go full combo. But this card is really good to help you bounce cards off the field and use as a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack point monsters. We then play 2 copies of Chimera Doll. Chimera Doll is an awesome combo piece in the deck, as during the main phase, if you control this link summon card, you can activate this effect, as you cannot special summon from the extract for the rest turn except Machine XZs. Also, take a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Then, if all monsters you control are Gimmick Puppet monsters, minimum 1, you can actually special summon a Gimmick Puppet monster from the hand, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then finally play a single copy of SP. SP is really good in the deck as a 1-of, to basically just use this card as a double interruption, just in case you need it, but it's a really good option as a just in case you need it, as one of the best toolbox cards in the entire game. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Gimmick Puppet before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's insane how powerful this deck still is, and it's still getting support, which is crazy, but it's such a powerful deck to be able to play. So, that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.